Good evening.
Hello.
And hello.
So this is Chrissy, and we have with us this evening Anna and our author, Chrystal L. Pynn, who has recently released her first astrology book called Fire in the Sky. We're very happy for her, and we get to chat a little bit tonight and hear some readings. Chrystal, why don't you start us off with something that you'd like to read?
Okay. Well, I'll just kind of give just a brief little introduction about this book. It is an astrology book. I go through all 12 signs, sun signs. I go in depth. A lot of people, when they read astrology books, they kind of just scratch the surface. But here I actually talk about things like personality, like mental health, like psychology. We look into some mythology. We look into some fun stories. Even in the Bible, we can see astrological events going all the way back and all the way through the Bible, which is super exciting. So tonight, I wanted to share a couple of readings. I was going to start out in Taurus. And in this particular reading, I'm talking about family dynamics. So in each chapter, I give time for family dynamics in each sign. So I will be talking. So if we have any Tauruses out there, you might identify, or if you know a Taurus, you might identify. And this is early years. This is talking about their childhood. So during the early years, young Taurus grows up in the Garden of Eden. Their parents are honored and recognized in their homeland. They get a taste of security. Taurus parents will walk over burning coals to maintain the image of perfection, although they soon find out it's not all as it seems. What appeared to be paradise soon begins to crumble, teaching them their first lesson in false security. Their parents will often be drowning in debt, but will still try and keep the Taurus child above water. So during those early years, Taurus child doesn't see the sacrifices being made to keep them secure. They seem to have an underlying entitlement for their God-given Garden of Eden. But again, they can be naive, and the reality can ultimately become quite a shock to their system. During the younger years is the time in their life when they go through the most significant transformation. They can witness their parents go through a devastating divorce, one that somehow they feel responsible for. All the earth conspires together to warn them. They are blinded by love and good deeds. In reality, again, like Snow White, they often deal with the witch in the form of a stepmother, stepfather, or strict biomother, potentially using manipulation enveloped with narcissistic traits. So I get into the childhood, and like I said, we talk a little bit about mental health and just bringing out some of the different ways of seeing life and how we look at life. So
that's really good. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And before we go any further, I want to invite everyone who is on Facebook watching us to type in a question for Chrystal, and she will be happy to answer it. So any questions you have about the book or astrology or your own signs, feel free to let them land right here.
I would love it. So in my next reading, I thought I would talk about Virgo, since I know I'm a Virgo and we have a Virgo rising and another Virgo in the room. So I thought I would talk a little bit about us Virgo people.
Are you kidding?
That's me.
This ought to give us a lot of identification. Okay, so this is the introduction. This is the beginning. And then I go in, like I said, into the health and also appearance of Virgo. So I'll be talking a little bit about that in this part of the book. The curtain opens with Mary Magdalene sitting at the feet of Jesus, using her holy water to wash his feet. According to the gospel, Luke 8, 1-3, it is believed that Mary was loved over all the disciples by Jesus. It is also said, once you've had a Virgo in your life, they will always be the one that got away. Mary makes herself indispensable and plays the caring den mother. Mary wanted to be pure, like a present-day Mother Teresa, a Virgo herself. The Mary Magdalene complex seems to play out in all of Virgo's life. This is where they must be given over to a proper calling higher than themselves to find resolve, realizing she can make it or break it in one fell swoop. Often, Virgo, which represents the Virgin, is satisfied living a life of sacrifice, such as the covenant, priesthood, devoted spouse, or living the all-consuming family life. But one thing for sure is Virgos are hard to read. You can usually tell how a Virgo is feeling by the way they use their hands to talk or fiddle with their hair. If you can detect nervousness or quick gyrations followed by long sighs, then you've spotted a Virgo. Virgos are compulsive by nature, and their critical ability allows them to organize multiple lists all at one time. This is why they love to think about what they are going to do as much as doing it. Virgos can be high maintenance, complicated, and quirky all at the same time. Virgo, a mutable earth sign, is the sixth sign on the wheel. It represents the age 37 to 42, which allows Virgo to have the emotional control of a 40-year-old, one who might be taken more seriously. Remember, Virgo, it's the time at the end of the summer, right before the fall equinox, when the year is maturing. One of my favorite Lloyd Webber plays of all times is Jesus Christ Superstar. We enter the scene of Mary Magdalene singing Jesus the song, I Don't Know How to Love Him. As we remember the words, we can see a glimpse into the relationship dynamics that Virgo plays out in their love affairs throughout their whole life. As we glean from Yvonne Elliman's performance, admitting her true feelings of being out of control and confused of what relationships are all about, Mary sings, I'm the one who's always been so calm, so cool, no lover's fool, running every show. He scares me so. I never thought it'd come to this. What's it all about? Since Mercury is sneaky, it can play into their very obsessive personalities. Their minds move quickly, count numbers, wash hands, check doors to help soothe the endless chatter rehashing in their minds. Some of the oral fixations, chewing on hair, chewing on tissue, and chewing nails help calm the nerves. If there were to be a drug that Virgos preferred most, it would probably be an upper. Virgos love keeping up with their demanding lists. Virgo rules the stomach, nervous system, hair, skin, and are prone to extreme allergic reactions on the medical side. It is funny how Virgos are the sign to rule small animals and yet can be the most allergic of all the signs to animals. Remembering that planetary energy can manifest in many ways. Dry skin, acne, and unknown rashes are quite common as well. We see mercurial energy can play a part in hypersensitivity, high anxiety, and obsessive compulsive disorder, tendencies including body dysmorphia. Unfortunately, we can also see eating disorders here. Virgos need to be seen as perfect, and any overindulgence, such as their hidden stash, can be hidden from view. So,
Wonderful. Thank you for that Virgo insight.
yeah.
Chrystal, we have a comment.
I'm just going to twist my hair a little.
Yeah, let me just make it
I think it's so interesting, and that's what I think is so fun about astrology is that we can laugh at ourselves. We can kind of blame it on the planets, you know, and to blame it on something else for once.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're really big up there. They're big boys. They can handle it.
Right.
They can handle it. Blame it on us. We're fine with that. But
I have a question from Facebook, Chrystal. Sorry to interrupt.
no, go ahead.
From Brenda. And she says, can you tell us about Gemini influence?
Oh, yes, I would love to. Well, Geminis are ruled by Mercury, along with Virgo. Both signs are ruled by Mercury. Mercury is the fastest planet up and going around the sun. It changes signs about every 3 weeks. And so we know that Geminis are our communicators because it's ruled by Mercury. Mercury being so close to the sun, and the sun being where all the drama is, Mercury loves to keep notes and loves to be the journalist. So Geminis, a lot of times you'll see as journalists, writers, they'll be storytellers, they'll be excellent with money, finances, anything that they have to calculate. They're really good juggling a lot of different things. Now, interestingly enough, Mercury, when it's in Gemini, it's much more scattered. So Geminis can really deal with kind of that feeling of scattered energy a lot, where they're trying to put an idea together, but they're just going in so many directions. It's hard to get that job finished. And so sometimes Geminis can be known to have what's even called Peter Pan syndrome, which is just starting and not finishing, or having so many different traits and so many different interests that it's hard to be content with one. Now, in Virgo, Mercury is a lot more quiet and more distinct, more, I hate to use the word more retentive, but Virgo and Mercury, it's a lot more quiet and deep focused, where in Gemini, it's more scattered. So I don't know. That was
Thank
helpful.
you. She just said, I love that comparison.
Oh, good, good.
Yeah. I love that you just said that like out of the top of your head. You didn't look in your book or anything. You just, bam, it was all there. It's really cool.
Thank you. Thank you. I wanted to share something about, and I hadn't planned on it, but then being that, and I know we'll talk a little bit about it, but that I also work with animals in astrology. And that's really my passion and my love that I found out. Obviously, this astrology, we're just talking basic sun sign. This is an introduction for people to get the main idea. But in astrology, you can also go into what it's called studying the astrological birth chart. And in animals, I was able to find very specific things that allowed me to see which animals have the gift, such as service dogs, to know, for example, dogs who have a lot of Pisces in their chart, they're going to be able to read if a seizure is coming up to 45 minutes before it comes. That's the dog that has the gift. Now, what happens, because I work with the service dog industry, is that a lot of times when somebody who needs a service dog spends a lot of time, a lot of money to get that dog, they don't know for sure if that dog is going to meet their exact needs. It can take up to 2.5 years of training and working together, and sometimes to find out that there's not a connection, that that dog doesn't have the gift that's needed specifically. But with astrology, I can tell from the day they were born if they have the gift. So I can actually begin to show what are going to be the giftings. It's still up to the person to do the work with the animals, to do the training. Astrology doesn't change any of that other than bringing acknowledgement to what maybe your horses, how they're seeing the world, or your animals, how they're seeing the world. And then we can communicate better with them.
Nice.
So I wrote a little bit in the book, in my chapter of Cancer. Cancer is the sign that's ruled by the moon. And if you have any Cancer friends or any Cancers out there, I call them the spiritual doctor. They have the ability to just have that, to know when the chemicals change before anything happens. They have that ability to know that something's wrong before anybody else does. They can even smell a strange smell when there's something off as well. That's how sensitive Cancers can be, because it's ruled by the moon, and the moon is our nurturing. It's our mother. It's where we find healing. So in my chapter here, my little area here on personal story, I wrote about Cancer service dogs.
Great.
On an interesting note, in my studies with service dogs in astrology, I've seen a very consistent pattern with dogs who have the sign of Cancer dominant in their birth charts are unique natural healers. In my research, the signature, being born under the moon's influence in the pet, can read people who have, for example, diabetes, and tell when their chemicals have changed or dropped below normal, able to warn their person of an upcoming diabetic episode. They are so in tune that they can smell and sense sickness in people before anyone else. It can take time to learn to read the language our service dog tries to impart, but rest assured he's feeling it all tenfold. I think the service dog industry would really benefit from learning how to study seasonal birth charts in dogs. It would help to make great connections to the best service dogs for the right person based on their innate abilities. So my next book is going to be teaching people how to do that with their own animals so that they can take another step into their relationship and connection. So that's going to be really fun.
Did you have the title of that? I think I remembered it right, but I'd like you to say it.
You know what? I'm still contemplating the title right now. It kind of, we had a few different ones, but you know how that goes. It's quite stuck yet.
Boy, do we know how that goes. Yeah.
But this helped me a lot. In fact, it's funny. I'll tell you just a quick, funny little trait that it just off the top of my head, thinking of my horse. She is born as a Taurus. She's actually born Cinco de Mayo. She's born as a Taurus. Now, Taurus represents the bull in astrology. We have the symbol of the bull, and their neck is really their strongest point. And so my horse, who is a Taurus, she's got a couple traits. One, she has a really strong neck, very specific neck. But the second thing is that she paws. She constantly is pawing at the food. Now, I know that would be something typically we would say is a behavior, impatience or what have you. But I have two Taurus horses and they both do this. And it really surprised me that it really represents kind of that bull, that impatience, these characteristics that come out. And it allows me to work with her in a different way. Instead of feeling like something's wrong, that's going to be her instinct. Food for a Taurus is their number one security. So with animals, a lot of times you'll have eating issues. You'll have food issues with Taurus, with the Taurus energy. So it allows me to work with it in a different way and just to not be so intent on it, because the more I don't make a big deal out of it, the more it's not a big deal. But sometimes we get focused on traits or behaviors that we think we've got to fix or take, when we can just kind of, help them just subside some of those things a little bit. So
Yes.
A couple thoughts on that.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Very interesting. I want to ask you, Chrystal, what was the very first instance where you knew that you wanted to pursue astrology? Like, how far back does that go? Were you interested in it since you were a kid, or what?
Actually, no.
Thank you.
Back in about 2009, I was going through a really difficult time. And, those are the times when we look at life and we ask all those questions and trying to figure it out. And, I started seeing certain things coming into my life, certain dates, certain people. They were having the same birthdays, one after another. When Facebook became popular and you could actually see people's birthdays, I'm going back through high school and finding out that my best friends all had the same birthday. Relationships I've had, it's very interesting, the same birthday. I've had dates, significant dates that fell. So I had to know, what does this mean? This has to mean something. There's too many coincidences, synchronicities, that I had to find out what it meant. I had never even heard of a birth chart. And because I have a faith-based, life, I really felt at first that maybe that was something that I was unsure about, that it was even something we could look at. And when I started to study how amazing the planets and the stars and how intricate it connects to my faith personally, and that it doesn't even have to. Astrology is a tool. It's not a religion. It's not a faith. It's a tool, and it can help us prepare life. It can help us get more safe with life. Just like if you were going to go to a birthday party on Sunday, you might look at the news and find out it's going to rain on Sunday. So you're going to have your umbrella, you're going to plan, or maybe you'll have the party inside. And you're not going to feel bad that you have that little foreknowledge or that insight. You're going to think you're pretty smart that you watched the news to find out what the weather's going to be. And that's all astrology is. But when we take it back to ancient times, we start to see that it's also personalities, and that we can work with each other better when we understand each other's personality and the innate things that are in us. Then for me, at least, it helped me a lot working with people and animals. It just changed everything for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that answers the question, but a lot of synchronicities, a lot of dates that I couldn't deny. I had to start looking into it. So here I am.
That's really great. Well, we're going to, Anna, do you have a question for Chrystal?
Brenda asked another question about horses, and I think you've covered some of this already.
Okay.
But she said she has a Gemini and 2 Aries. And I guess my question on top of that is just that, herd makeup.
Yes. Well, you're going to see, first of all, right out the gate, when you have a horse that's an Aries, which a lot of times you see race horses that are specifically bred to be born in April. So they'll get that Aries energy. It's right out the gate. It's pushy though. So here you have your pushier horses. You have your more aggressive horses. You have your lead horses. A lot of times they're very impatient. So you have to really do a lot of things to get their attention, to keep their attention, because they get bored easy. Just like with people, you're going to see these same traits in the animals. But what you really see with this Aries, again, is this horse you're going to see, like, this is a horse that you would use for the police, in the police field, where you've got a horse that's going to stand up to a crowd, that's not going to back down. You know, sometimes you need that energy at different times, or you need those qualities. Now with Gemini, this is another horse or animal you have to keep very busy. Now on the health issue side of Gemini, what I've noticed with the Gemini animals I've studied, they can have issues with cribbing or chewing each other's tails, because here we have Mercury again. And Mercury can become very habitual habits, very addictive habits, which cribbing can be. It's also use the mouth, which for horses is very much like using hands. They communicate that way. So we see a lot of those traits can happen. So keep your Gemini horse very busy. Talk to him all the time when you're wiggling the reins. It's a conversation. It's not even anything else other than we're having a little conversation to keep your mind with me, because that's a horse that needs that play. It's playing for them. So I don't know. That's a few thoughts.
That's a good preview for your next book.
Yeah.
When do you think that will be out?
Well, surprisingly, I didn't think, this book process was such an amazing process, and I could not have done it without you guys. Absolutely not. So I do have to say that right out the gate. If anyone is thinking about writing a book, having mentor and having you guys was amazing.
Thank you.
Incredible. I mean, I can't tell you how many times, and you're just doing this and you just reassured me and kept me like, okay, here, just tell you one more time, you're okay.
Yeah.
But I thought I would need a break, but I'm getting the bug again. I'm getting writing bug. And all of a sudden I'm thinking, maybe I shouldn't be waiting around. Maybe I should just jump right in.
Nope. Write it. Write
Yeah,
the book.
you know we're going to say write it.
Right.
Yeah, that's the deal with us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm definitely going to take your advice. And I hope you guys will take me back for a second book.
Oh, anytime.
Because I'll be there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's answer one more question and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So Brenda says thank you.
You're welcome, Brenda.
Your Gemini and Aries horses.
Yes.
Amy says congratulations. And then her question is, what would be your best competitive horse thinker like Gymkhana?
I like that Aries. Because they're going to go right for those barrels. They're going to be, it's that nature you would think you want to take out of the horse, but you don't. It's that nature that says, I'm brave. I can do it. I'm right there. That's not going to be afraid of the barrel. That'll actually knock it over, which you don't necessarily want, but will be that bold to get in there. So I don't know. I like that Aries. I thought it was a good horse for that.
Great. Thank you.
I have a weird question to ask about horse or dog. Well, horse astrologies. And the reason I say this is in the United States, I mean, it's different in the Southern Hemisphere, but generally speaking, our foals are all born within the first 4 months of the year.
Yes.
And so that's interesting to me.
And it explains why, because, all right, so if the sun is in Aries in April, so that would be March 21st to April 21st approximately. Okay, that's when we have April. Now, Mercury and Venus, they travel within 30 to 60 degrees of the sun. So if the sun is March and April in Aries, Mercury and Venus could be in Aries in January, February, or March, April, or May. It could be 30 to 60 degrees before the sun or 30 to 60 degrees after the sun. So now we have more Aries in the actual birth chart that I'm looking at. So even though, and they want that for racehorses, they want that Aries energy in there. So you find out that you're following several planets that produce that speed, that give you that gumption you want. But that's a lot of times they get that kind of horse when they're bred during those first few months.
Nice. Interesting.
That makes sense.
Do you, Chrystal, do you have another reading you'd like to close with?
I could do one more.
Yeah.
It's okay. This is my favorite one. So
good.
Yeah.
In my book, I also do a lot of celebrities, talk about their charts and their birthdays and just different stories that I looked into. And so this story, I'm going to do a brief story on Walt Disney. He is a Sagittarius. So if there's any Sagittarius out there. So Walt Disney TV documentary produced by Walter L.S. Disney Miller, Walt Disney, an over-the-top native who lived in Sagittarius fashion. I was blown away by the perfect example we have in our no other than outstanding enigma, the man behind the myth, brilliant, genius, dreamer, visionary, who changed the world with his ideas for the future, world-renowned Walt Disney. Born December 5th, 1901 to December 15th, 1966. We see the perfect outline of Sagittarius played out with Walt Disney, who preferred to be called Uncle Walt by all his friends, including employees who he considered family. That larger-than-life warm identity, a feeling of being in control, of giving to everyone what they need by knowing what they need, as if God himself were looking down from heaven. Although it is said Walt Disney was not the best artist ever, but could always be way out in front of what anyone else was doing at his age. Here we have the youthful visions with impatience for details. At 20 years old, Walt Disney opened his first studio promoting his laugh-o-grams. Later, he mortgaged the house, willing to gamble some of his early ideas like Alice in Wonderland and Pinocchio. Walt knew he was a storyteller and had driving confidence in his destiny. He believed so wholeheartedly in living his life to the fullest that he never even thought failure would be an option. Even though he had many obstacles and roadblocks in those beginning years, as many successful people do. Many people will tell you that Walt Disney also had a private side, admitting in a family interview that he had a mental breakdown after losing his mother in a house fire. The guilt, knowing he had purchased the house for his parents and knew of the possible malfunctions, took its toll on everything Walt believed in. Walt went away for a while during his crack-up, but became aware that many creatives had experienced extreme highs and extreme lows while thriving in their cosmic creative juices. It's important to remember that mental illness can play out in Sag's life, whether themselves or someone very close to them, possibly a woman theme. Some of Walt's closest friends and employees have said Walt Disney may have been a narcissist. He was never satisfied. Nothing was ever enough. He purposely never complimented his employees and kept employees apart who were doing too well together. He didn't want to lose control, and they believed if he kept people always wanting to please him, he would be able to accomplish his all-the-time magical life. Due to Walt's charismatic side, his employees said that when you felt like you pleased him, you'd be floating off the ground for days. He wouldn't let anyone stop him. He was always in a state of becoming. When making Pinocchio, there's a scene where the whale sneezes Pinocchio and Geppetto out of his mouth. This is where Jiminy Cricket turns around and says, Gesundheit, which was the perfect of many intuitive additions that Walt Disney would continue to use over the years to fill in the scripts. His intuition was always bang on. His visions continued through It's a Small World, Pirates of Caribbean, Adventureland, Tomorrowland, Utopia, and so much more. You can see the theme that runs through Disneyland connects us all to other worlds and nations, allowing us to travel all over the world and yet stay in one amusement park. What a concept. He had one foot in the past, one foot in the technical future. He knew that there was a connection to doing the right things and letting the right things happen. As he laid on his deathbed at 65 with lung cancer from his years of heavy smoking, he looked upon the ceiling where he had his family pin a map of his future vision board of ideas at Disneyland. It was all about never being finished, living real life, breathing ideals into existence that would become more beautiful every day. And that's where Sages connect to their higher power, which is a lifelong quest.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Story. And, you know, Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. So they're the dreamers. They're the visionaries, and they hate details. They don't like Virgos. Sagittarius and Virgos don't get along very well, but they
need us.
They need us. But that's how Disneyland got probably a good old Virgo behind that.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
Anyway, that's kind of some fun.
Oh, geez. Chrystal, this has been so much fun. It's been so much fun. And I feel like I have different insights than I had before. And so I've read some of the book. I'm looking forward to reading the rest. And excuse me, we really want to thank you. We want to wish you fabulous luck going forward with this book. And I'm going to give you the last word. But if you know anything about me, you know I'm going to say something like, so we'll see you with your next book in a year or so.
That's right.
I think so. I think I'm ready. I think I'm going to go for it. I had so much fun writing, the actual process of writing. And I prayed and prayed and prayed that once I started writing, I wouldn't stop, because I stopped and started so many times. And this last run through, I did it. And now I know what it feels like.
Yes.
And I know what it feels like, to that feeling of just being lost in it. And it's okay. You're lost in this whole world, but it's all okay. And you come out on the other side. So here I am.
Excellent. Oh, that's exactly what I want to see. The two of you on the screen. And by the two of you, I mean you and your book.
That's right.
Yay. Thanks so much, Chrystal.
I just wanted to say one last quick thing. My mother painted this portrait painting in 1972 of Catalina Island. And I was looking for a sun to put on my book, and I was looking and looking, and this picture came out from behind the scenes, and we were able to do some little creative coloring to it, and it ended up being out on my book. So I'm super happy about that.
It's lovely.
I love this cover. I think it's fabulous.
Speaks, it's dramatic, because the book, although there's fun parts in the book, and I try to have some little humor in there, there's also some parts that are pretty deep, that are dramatic, that I go there. And it's kind of like, it was hard to go there, but I went there in some areas, and the book gives that depth to it. The cover, I felt like, gave that depth to it. So
yes. Good job.
Thank you so much.
We're so happy for you.
Thank you all so much. And thank you for everyone for the questions and coming out. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah. We'll look forward to the next book.
Okay.
See you next year, Chrystal.
You guys gave me the push I needed. Thank you. I needed that. That was perfect.
Good. We're so glad you did. Thanks so much.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next time. We are Lilith House Press, and the book is Fire in the Sky by Chrystal Pynn. Thanks so much.
And you guys are amazing.
So are you.